Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunushumme, washmale. Ohio gozaimasu. Guten Morgen. Hola, boyo, privyet, kaifa hal? Halishuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, abuna, mucho gracias, swabia, bhalli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and ayo sayo, khuyamora, chivato, chihaljot, kalimera, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. Alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Haja Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Haja, Assalamu alaikum, Jummah Mubarak, how are you feeling?
Walaikum assalam, khair mubarak to you, Jummah mubarak to you and everyone out there, and thank you so much for introducing me, Shahzad. So since you and I, we are a fervent user of Twitter, or now recently known as X, and I think we have also expressed our thoughts that we really don't like that black logo.
Doesn't feel nice.
Yeah, I mean, we were very acclimatized with the blue sort of bird, and that bird was chirping, and tweets and Twitter, and the entire idea was hinged around it. But since it has been taken over by the Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is trying to rebrand that image in order to make it more of a profitable entity. So X is going to introduce some new features in their app, and which is they're trying to turn Twitter into an everything app. So now you can have the video calls, audio calls, and you do not even need a mobile phone for that. And that will be supported on the iOS, Apple, Macintosh, and other versions of the Android mobiles. And according to the tweet which was posted on the X by the Elon Musk, he says that X will be an effective global address book in the first place. And I'm very intrigued by the idea that you can, have them audio calls and video calls on the Twitter. But then again, I am really surprised and flabbergasted as to what will happen if the data is leaked in the first place, because data privacy is a huge, huge concern, and that too at a mega platform like Twitter in the first place.
Exactly. And Haja, thank you so much for reminding me that, how far-fetched my ideas are. So imagine that, just on that occasion, on that day, when we mentioned that, that the Twitter's logo has changed, I told you that he's one of the best marketeer in the world. And there's something certainly cooking up. So, imagine that, when Mark Zuckerberg came up with Threads, followed by Instagram, he said that, now I believe that I would certainly come up with whatever you are doing. And that's exactly what he did. So, may it be WhatsApp, may it be Instagram, may it be Threads. Ladies and gentlemen, X is going to be that platform which will provide you all sorts of services. Not just that, once again, just look at it, that how smartly he has done it. So he's made sure that he's going to be in a feud with Mark Zuckerberg, get it going all over the world, and here it is. So he has reimagined Twitter. Not just that, he's rebranded that, and he's going to make sure that it's going to be an everything app now.
That's very true, and I think I've never been very fond of the Threads in the first place. I've downloaded it, but
I think I've only, what do you call it? Do you call it a tweet? Do you call it a thread tweet?
It's called Threads.
Yeah, so it's Threads. So I've only kind of used it once, and I do not certainly think that there's any idea behind using Threads.
Yes, of course, and because it is a merger of the Instagram and Twitter in the first place, and I think it didn't click me that much as compared to Twitter, because Twitter is the place where there's a lot of networking, and it has the soft news as well, it has a hard news as well, so you can get acclimatized with what's going on politically.
All you need to do is check what's trending.
Yes, that's very true, and Thread didn't click that much.
Yeah, we're trending.
Yes. So I think we will see how the things will go on, and obviously, is it going to be a fun venture? Is it going to be a more successful venture? Because ideas are floated, but according to Shahzad, the very few ideas get successful in the first place, and that too by the unicorn companies in the first place, right? So moving on to our top stories, which is today is the 1st of September. So Pakistan, remember its martyrs of September 1st, 1965 war. The war started on 1st of September 1965, back in the days when India launched a surprise attack on Pakistan across the international border. Pakistan armed forces and brave people of Pakistan fought valiantly and repulsed the enemy advances on various fronts. Many soldiers and officers of Pakistan Army laid down their lives for the sake of their homeland and became immortal in the history. Among the prominent martyrs of Pakistan Army were Major Mia Raza Shah and Major Shah Nawaz, who embraced martyrdom on the first day of the war, that is on 1st of September 1965. Both were awarded posthumously Tamgha-e-Shujaat for their courage and sacrifice. And certainly we remember our martyrs, and certainly in the coming days we are going to have exclusive shows dedicated to celebrate how they effortlessly put their lives before the needs of the country, the motherland, and the place that we call Pakistan.
And Hajra, if we go back in time and think about, when we were children growing up, I've always felt as if the armed forces of the country are the binding force. They bring the entire country together. And that's not it. So imagine there's another sport which brings us together, and that happens to be cricket. And since the 16th edition of the Asia Cup is on just yesterday in Palakele, Sri Lanka, just right across Kandy, for example, Islamabad and Rawalpindi, that's how it is. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Bangladesh and Sri Lanka coming together, where Sri Lanka beat Bangladesh by 5 wickets in the second match of Asia Cup 2023 at Palakele. PTV Sports was telecasting the match live, and earlier Bangladesh captain Shakib Al Hasan won the toss and elected to bat. Batting first, Bangladesh were bowled out for 164 runs in 42.4 overs, and it was only Najmul Hasan Shanto, who came up with an 80 odds inning, but other than that, there was nobody who was impressive or could actually kind of support him from the other hand. But Najmul Hasan Shanto, as I mentioned, and not just that, Tauhid Hadroy made 20, while opener Mohammad Naeem added 16 runs. And unfortunately, the top order, specifically if we are to kind of talk about the openers for Bangladesh, they haven't really been impressive, and their averages or their opening partnerships lie at the bottom of all the teams. And for Sri Lanka, Matisha Pathirana bagged 4, while Mahesh Theekshana took 2 wickets. The most important innings, I think, was played by Asal Lanka. And this other gentleman, I've forgotten the name, I'm very sorry. In fact, I shouldn't have. But yeah, Sadhira. So Sadhira was that gentleman who actually made sure that he's going to build up that inning, because early on even Sri Lanka's top order wasn't performing. They lost early 3 wickets, and then as soon as Sadhira came in, with a strike rate of 72, he made sure that he's going to contribute. And when Sadhira left, it was Asal Lanka who had that slogger finish to the game, and he made sure that that they're going to succeed, and that's what they did. But there's another good news for everybody who's outside and inside Pakistan, and the reason is that tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we will once again be going to Palakele, where it's going to be Pakistan versus India. That's what the world wants to see. May it be Asia Cup, may it be World Cup.
I want to ask your opinion. Who is the favorite team slated to win? I know it's very difficult question to answer in the first place, and especially when there are 2 rivals in front of each other. But according to your analysis and the way you are following the cricket, what do you think are the analysis, and which team is more favored?
Okay, so let's talk about it. For example, if we are to talk about Pakistan, the evidence or the precedence which has been set by Pakistan says that Pakistan is a very well-balanced team. So imagine that we have retained the #1 one-day international ranking, so we are on top of the chart. So there's no question about Pakistan and its form. And recently, if you are to kind of talk about India, it's going to be a lot about how mental application works while you're playing the game, because most of the time with Pakistan and India, what happens is that it's a very pressure game. So whoever kind of has like nerves of steel are the one who kind of emerge. Even in the previous World Cup, we defeated India and we made sure that we are going to get victorious. But we cannot say anything about India and Pakistan till the time that the game will actually offer us a result. But best of luck for Pakistan cricket team and to the Indian cricket team as well. But it is very unfortunate, I must say that it is very unfortunate of the Indian cricket team, because Pakistan has the rights to host Asia Cup. And just because of India's cricket team, we couldn't really conduct the entire Asia Cup over here in Pakistan. And I believe personally, as a sports broadcast journalist, as an anchor person, that sports should really be kept outside the arena of politics. So for whoever, in India thought that, okay, we're not going to send our team to Pakistan, you really didn't do a good job to the sport we call cricket.
That's very true, and thank you so much for once again reiterating this message. But once again, I think tomorrow is going to be a very exciting day, because India and Pakistan match is something more than the cricket match, because there are lots of emotions invested in that.
And Hajra,
there's a lot of screening going on, right?
There's an interesting story to it as well. So imagine that, in World Cup, Pakistan will be playing against India in Ahmedabad. And so in Asia Cup, Pakistan is playing against India in Palakele, Sri Lanka. So both the places, hospital beds are booked up, because people are like, there's going to be too much stress, so we certainly kind of need a place to go and relax as well. So people, please make sure, mere Pakistani behan bhaiyo, make sure that you start praying for Pakistan from today onwards.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the nature of the game. One team is designed to win, another team is designed to lose. So it's just a game, don't worry about it.
KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, you just keep on naming them.
I think that's a difficult message to reiterate, especially for the cricket lovers and for the people who are invested so much on the cricket. But but obviously we are going to talk about it in more detail. But and also Shahzad is available for the commentary, so tune into the PTV Sports, and we hope and we wish you best of luck. Thank you so much for making us proud.
And in addition to that, I'm playing today at 5 p.m. at Istanbul Club, so please make sure that you pray for me too and my team. Yes.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Best of luck for that. But now moving on to our topic, which is hinge around the concept of the legal rights, and we know that there are lots of rights which are guaranteed in the Constitution, but there is not enough awareness regarding it, and obviously we have narrowed down our research, and we would like to introduce further sub-umbrella concepts of that, which are hinge around the consumer rights, the digital rights, and when we're going to talk about it. So how does that impact us? What are the legal remedies which are available, which are we not aware of in the first place, and how to approach them? So for that,
and before we introduce, the right way to put it is that, for example, we went grocery shopping. So, we bought 5 kg rice, and we got back home, we were like, okay, that's not the product which the shopkeeper offered us. You went to a petrol station, petrol pump, you wanted to fuel your car. So, you went there, you fuel your car, and then later on realized that, that the quantity wasn't as it should have been.
Oh, that's an everyday problem.
Moving on, you go to somebody, you've been working with them, and he or she comes to you and be like, can you please give me 1 million rupees? You don't do any paperwork. And she or he tells you, Jani, koi masla nahi hai, main de dunga na. So what really needs to be done? And how effectively do you really need to make sure that you kind of be in touch with the lawyer? So to talk about all of this, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have been joined by somebody who happens to be a legal advisor at National Commission on the Status of Women. He is Sharafat Chaudhary Sahab. Hello sir, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning. How are you feeling today?
I'm perfect, thank you very much.
And not just that, in addition to this, he happens to be, when we talk about law, ladies and gentlemen, he's in the Anti-Rape Committee as well, which is an initiative of Ministry of Law. So we will certainly be talking about that, harassment, digital harassment. But first up, sir, Assalamu Alaikum, thank you so much for joining us. And most of the time, wherever we might probably go, unfortunately, this shouldn't really be the case, but whatever we're looking, we might not be getting that. So imagine, let's start from very basics. From our viewers' point of view, we went to a grocery store, we took some stuff, he overcharged us, the product wasn't the same which he shared with us in the first place. What do you think I can do as a consumer?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important topic that you are highlighting, and it's actually particularly in days when there's a lot of discussion about the inflation and about the high prices of the things. I mean, the most important thing is, how many times do you look at the receipt that you receive from?
Sir, whenever I'm paying from my pocket, I always look at it.
That's pretty good. And do you look at that whether they have actually, you can say, about the deduction of the taxes?
No, I haven't seen that. And I'm certainly not aware of it as well. So please go ahead, guide us.
So look, that's important. I mean that many a times you do not even take receipt of. When you do not take a receipt what you have paid, I mean that there is no case at all. This means that you even whatever you purchased, that's not calculated, and the only beneficial to this is actually the seller.
Okay.
And it's not the buyer. The buyer is at the loss. The government is at the loss.
Okay.
I mean that when you pay, for example, sometime you take your credit card out and you try to pay. There will be many shopkeepers who will say, okay, pay us in cash.
Yes.
Why they do not want to take the amount through
then the tax is lower, right?
Then it will be their sale would be calculated.
Okay.
And once the sale is calculated, this means that they will have to collect taxes from you and to pay it back to the government. And when your sale is not calculated, I mean that it's just a manual thing that I paid you in cash and you. So as a matter of fact, for example, you had 100,000 sale in one day, and the electronic record of this is maybe of just 10,000.
But there's a catch-22 situation, and I would like to elaborate on that, because a lot of obviously everyone should pay taxes. There is no denying this fact, and our country needs this. But there are a lot of times they say that whenever they pay the taxes, so the machinery or the government, so it's not the ease of business or ease of doing business is not there, right? So how do we address that gap so it is more easier for them to pay taxes in the first place, and obviously it's more easier for the government to register them?
I think everybody can do it. All you have to do is go on their website and that's it. Put in your receipts.
Get yourself registered with FBR. It's too simple. It's not a complex one as an individual. The problem is when you look at, for example, in streets, at houses, at the lifestyle of the people, it's totally different from what we have the documented income.
True.
And that's the problem, that you can see a person with moving on a V8, but when you look at his bank accounts, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean that you are enjoying a life with the good amenities, with the good, you can say, real life facilities. But at the same time, when we talk about the recorded income, there's nothing. So ultimately, when there's nothing on record, FBR cannot collect the, you can say, taxes. And that definitely this is what the government's income is, that to collect taxes from the people.
Exactly.
So, I mean that as you started it very from a simple point, that for example, you just want to buy a 10 rupees thing. Right? You know that if it's calculated, if it's computed, your sale is computed. This means that it's registered, you will pay back it to the government. Otherwise, what's happening, that you are, for example, as I said, that you had a sale of 100,000, but your sale is recorded just 10,000 rupees. So, you will pay back to the government, while you will have income out of 100,000 rupees. All right. And at the same time, the purchaser is actually paying the price.
I truly get this point, sir, and it is obviously important for us to kind of observe and then make sure that that they're doing the right thing. But from a purchasers, buyers, consumers point of view, for example, if I went somewhere, okay, sir, mujhe 6 magge de de, got back home, 2 of them were broken already. What do you think as a consumer can I do?
Well, there's a consumer, unfortunately, people do not use of that law and of that code much. There is a consumer court, and that's available since many years back.
Okay.
So, you know that one problem with our judicial system is that it's a bit exhaustive. I mean that it's a time-taking process. The chuttiyan is something, I mean that, that the courts are never empty.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Always, there are always, there's a misconception that courts are closed. Maybe certain courts are closed, but judicial systems never been shut down.
Majority of my friends who happen to be lawyers, and a few of them who happen to be judges as well, and roaming somewhere in Europe and elsewhere.
In the whole year, it's a month of August. All right, that's usually we call it a judicial holidays. But even during this month, even during
some courts are working, some are not.
The courts are working. For example, the 5 judges are working, maybe 4 on a leave. There's still, for emergency purposes, for you can say urgent works, the courts are never. Even you can reach to the magistrate's home. His home is actually a court. But I mean, how many people go to magistrate's home at midnight that this is an emergency? So, and if you go there, I mean, on a duty, there's the word we call a duty judge. So, duty judge is on the duty.
But that's not what we're debating about. What as a consumer can I do, to make sure that, I kind of.
It's a simple process. File an application with the consumer court. All right. Definitely, consumer court would notice to the people, present your thing, present your receipt. I started from the receipt. So, first you needed to actually prove that you have really purchased something. You have paid, even you have paid the relevant tax as well. So, once I mean that you prove that, and you also prove the things is, for example, broken, or it's some kind of deceit or fraud, the court can take even all the coercive
even with the online purchases, because every time I buy something online, it doesn't fit me. I have to give it to somebody else. That's the problem. They say oversized t-shirt. When I receive it, it's small size for me.
True.
Well, I once ordered 2 pair of shoes, but when I received, it was 2 pair of glasses. Then I started tracking that from where I purchased, and I couldn't track the company. So we need to look at, for example, that whether it's a company's website, from where you are purchasing, where's their office. I mean that I just randomly ordered at a Facebook page. It appeared to be 70% discount.
I think we have all been conned by this, because everyone has a story to share. I have the similar story to share, but I think now we have developed this.
Please share your story.
I ordered something and something else came, and then that page was gone, or they've blocked me or something like that. But now let's talk about the digital rights and the rights related to the especially protection afforded to the harassment on the digital platform. So we've seen that there are lots of cases going on where, especially when we talk about the gender-based biases, so women are at a disadvantage when it comes to the digital platform. So what sort of remedies are available legally for them, and especially when this is a very sensitive matter and the honor is involved? So please go ahead, shed some light.
If you talk about the gender-based crime, and particularly within gender-based crimes, the sexual harassment or online harassment, there's been a legislative development in Pakistan.
Okay.
If it got a history, for example, if you go 20 years back, there may be no provision that would directly counter these kind of offences. But in 2010, there's been one kind of amendment. Then in 2016, we had a special law prevention of electronics crime act in 2016. That's most recently amended in 2022, and its scope was even enhanced. And then for the other harassment at a workplace, there was act in that was amended in it was of a 2010. It was also amended in 2022. So I mean that, and there are certain provisions also added in Pakistan Penal Code. So one thing that almost every type of harassment, whether it's offline, it's online, it's covered under the law, and it got its penal provisions. Yep. Now the problem is that we should know. We should know, and the most important problem for us is that usually the victim do not speak, or I mean that it reports very late, or the victim doesn't.
And what do you mean by very late? And what are the consequences that if you're reporting quite late?
Well, in every crime, the ultimate, whatever the fault is in your prosecution, the ultimate beneficiary is the accused person.
Okay.
So I mean, and the loser is, unfortunately, the loser is the victim. So the sooner you report, the better it is. I mean that as soon this is the important thing, that if you feel, by law, every department requires to have a harassment committee. For example, this is the PTV. The PTV requires a anti-harassment committee. So it got its 3 members, and one of those members should be at least women.
Right.
So you can complain that. And for example, if there is an online harassment, the relevant department is FIA. FIA even has on its website given a portal that you can file online complaint. I mean that it doesn't take much time for, if you are receiving, for example, online harassment, this means that you already got access to internet, access to online resources. You are using digital platforms. So it doesn't take much to type a few lines on a FIA website and to report that, and let them inquire into, let them investigate. That's it.
And it's wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining it so wonderfully well. Now the other part is, and I think a lot of businessmen, you know, so from not a consumer perspective, but from a seller's perspective, you know, just a few days ago, me and Haj and our entire team, we started a drive that wherever, you know, there will be corruption, we'll make sure that we at least talk about it. Very sorry. So what happened was that one of my friends' showroom happens to be in Blue area. You know, there was this gentleman who came up, you know, happens to be a magistrate, I believe. And so what he did was that, you know, that he came in his cultist car. He said, okay, you know, you have to give me free tires. And the gentleman goes like, okay, whenever we'll have tires, we'll call you and you can come. So what the gentleman did was that the gentleman went up next day and, you know, so went up to my uncle and be like, sir, tire to. And my uncle obviously got a little, you know, he wasn't really feeling happy about it. He was like, jab aayenge to de denge bhai. You know what he did? He sealed their showroom. And he was like, okay, 50,000 rupees jurmana bhare aur phir aake aap apna showroom khulwa lein. What do you think we can do in the court about this?
Well, that's a rampant corruption that you are talking about almost everywhere. But you know that we can blame individuals, not the institutions. Definitely, in all kind of institutions, there is a hierarchy. For example, if it's a I'm not naming someone, but for example, if you say that the first, you are talking about the administrators. If for example, at a first stage, an officer is corrupt, you can go to the next stage. I mean, for example, you give a reference to the magistrate. Why don't you go to the commissioner, file an application with the commissioner, complaint against him? The problem is that we don't complain, we try to settle.
So the court cannot help?
Definitely court would help, but I'm just telling you, this is one administrative arrangement. The other is directly file a complaint file a complaint with the police, do initiate the proceedings. Then there is within the department there is also an act of 1946 against the corruption, and many government official has been jailed on this. But the problem with us is that we try to settle, as you said, that your uncle said it's not online settle. We try to negotiate sometime, even at, we may be at our fault. Why they think? Why he should promise? I mean that I mean that he is ready to provide he is ready to provide bribe. That's the
and
problem.
obviously that makes us I think that makes us equally corrupt.
For me, both the parties are guilty in current case.
That's true, and I think this is a very important point where we Pakistanis, we are not very habitual of complaining, right? I mean, there is a hindrance amongst us that we do not complain and we just keep it to ourselves. And there are legal remedies, there are legal flaws there. But thank you so much, Ashafqat Saab, for coming here, Sharafat Saab, pardon me, for coming here and for having such a wonderful conversation regarding legal rights, regarding other remedies available, and especially how we need to make sure that these laws are made for us and we utilize them in the first place. So we will wrap up this segment, and after a short break we are coming back with a very interesting discussion line.
Make sure that you're ready to wear a big smile, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned, and for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into PT World, watching what this morning. Very happy Friday to everybody. Please make sure that you recite a lot of Darood and Salah, and please make sure that you remember us, the entire Pakistan, all of our people, wherever they may probably be, and the entire Muslim Ummah. Now, before heading out towards a short break, just after, when Hajra finished, I said that, okay, be ready to wear a big smile. So imagine when you go to a gym, Hajra, you have a fitness coach. When you go to a cricket ground, you will have a cricket coach, bowling coach, whatnot. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that the most important aspect of our life is to be happy. But I've never ever seen a happiness coach.
That's very true, and happiness is a subject that has been written a lot about it. There are multiple books, I would say countless books that have been written. There are countless philosophies that have been ruminated over how to achieve happiness, and the motivational industry we've talked about is $1 billion industry, and the aim is to have the happiness and peace, right? But what does the concept happiness means, and how to achieve it, and what does a happiness coach entails in the first place?
And before we kind of introduce our only happiness coach in the world, because she's the first one that we have come across, there's one rule which I have kept to my life, and to myself, which I believe kind of gives me a lot of happiness. And that rule, I think I kind of stood by this rule somewhat around when I was 27, 28. I was 3 or 4 years down the married life, and I was like, not expecting from anybody is my rule to be happy.
And expected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that gives you immense happiness. This is our conception of that, and obviously, like Allah mentions in Quran, ke dilon ka sukoon to Allah ki yaad mein hi hai, right?
And even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that that if you're feeling sad, please make sure that you read a lot of Darood or Salat on me, and your gham will go away. So without any further ado, we will be introducing the first ever happiness coach, who actually happens to be an author of 3 books titling Kahin Der Na Ho Jaye, Tu Shaheen Hai, Subah Zarur Hogi. Khawateen o Azad, we're very lucky that we have been joined by Mrs. Shaheen Firdaus. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. It's a great pleasure to having me here with you.
Thank you so much.
I am very much admirer of your program and almost all of you.
Thank you so much, madam, for being over here. It's wonderful to have you. But for somebody who happens to be a happiness coach, are you always happy?
Yeah, I am. Alhamdulillah. There is no doubt.
But I think whenever we are in conversation with people, they're like, okay, happiness certainly is an emotion. Being sad is a normal emotion. So all of these mix of emotions really need to be out there for you to be as a balanced person. So अगर आप सिर्फ ही खुश रह रही होंगी तो लोग तो कहते होंगे यार पता नहीं क्या हो गया फिरदौस आपा को.
Yes, people say that कि how it could be possible कि आपको कभी गुस्सा नहीं आता या आप कभी नाराज़ नहीं होती और आप बदले नहीं लेती हैं, आप explanations नहीं कॉल करती, तो it's alhamdulillah by the grace of Allah Almighty I remain happy and I want to be others happy.
Okay,
make others happy.
Now
Wonderful.
let's talk about your books, since you have written 3 books and one of the books also talks about Shaheen, and you also happen to be Shaheen. So what sort of themes we can find in that book, and if someone is looking into your book, what should that person expect?
First of all, I want to tell you that I have been working around Pakistan, across Pakistan, to motivate others, to share my experiences, my passion.
We have seen your profile and it's very extensive. We know it, alhamdulillah. A lot of certifications, a lot of seminars, alhamdulillah.
Yes. Now I am associated with UMT, University of Management and Technology, Lahore, as a happiness coach.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah.
Aren't the kids happy in university? I was happy when I was in university.
Dr. Hassan Sohaib Murad, its founder, had created a seat for me after reading my 2 books, because my books are life-changing and motivational, and without promoting any specific school of thought. I written these books for the sake of people, how they can survive in this kind of society easily, how they can be a successful person, how they can make them an asset rather than a liability, and in a very simple and easy language. That's why everyone liked it very, very,
wonderful.
very
So
much.
what are the core concepts of being happy? Let's talk about that. Let's make it simpler for our audience.
As you know, we are facing so many problems at the same time, not in our country. That's why I, not only students, but staff and faculty also come to me to resolve their issues. When I resolve their issue, they become happy. And just technically with simple therapies, with simple IR.
So what do you do? What do you do? You know, just explain it to us so that we understand it better.
Because religion is the most symbol of energy and happiness, and whenever someone is going to pessimism, towards pessimism and negativity, और इन्ना सलात तन्हा अनिल फ़हशाई वल मुनकर, नमाज बेहयाई और बुरे कामों से रोकती है. जब उनको when I say them to say prayer with your heart and dignity and very much arzier and humble, then they become happy, because we are the people, we have separated religion and life.
That's true.
Quran and life. We just read Quran, we just do tilawat, and we don't understand even a single ayat's meaning. So when I made them realize that you should know what Allah is saying and what I am saying in duration my salat. So that's why, because we talk to Him, we talk Allah Almighty. When we want to talk to Him, we say prayer. And when we want to listen what He is saying to us, then we read Quran, and we don't know the both's meaning.
That's very true, and thank you so much for saying that. And Shahzad, certainly very right that as a humans we do witness low moments, moments of crisis, darker moments when we need some help, and that is the time, I think, where when your heart is very much vulnerable, the crevices of your heart, the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pass through those crevices, especially in your heart, and that is why it is very much important that you need to have a strong connection with Allah, strong connection with nature in the first place. But you focus a lot on the personality development, and I think in order to harbor or foster happiness, you need to have a personality development, a good personality development. Please focus on that.
Yes, I have written about it a lot because personal development, we don't know what to do, how we can set our goals. Even youth doesn't know. They come to me, ma'am, I don't know what मैं बड़ा होके क्या बनूं. Even if 22 years of age boy is saying कि मुझे नहीं, I don't know कि मैंने बड़ा होकर क्या बनना है.
बड़ा तो तू हो गया, अब
तो मैं उनको यही बोलती हूँ कि personal development is really very much important, and because we are like a commodity. We should enhance our knowledge, we should enhance our education, vocabulary, sincerity, love, loyalty. There is no element, people only, now youth only wants to shortcut to make themselves an asset, a wealthy person, a successful businessman, whatever they want to be. But they are searching only shortcuts. We can't cheat the grind.
True.
हम लोग
Thank you so much for saying that, because I've always been an avid advocate of that, because it's only, I think, a very minute percentage of people who might get lucky, and then people might think that, it's a shortcut, because they never know about the struggle they've been through or their families have been through. And, we're so judgmental that we already, kind of pass a judgment that, okay, this happened.
Yes.
But Alhamdulillah, from my life, the only thing which I know is that what you exactly mentioned, that there's no shortcut, we have to grind. We have to make sure that every single day we wake up and cash on that opportunity which Allah has provided us with.
Yes, if people say and think that I am a very successful lady, I am, because I have so many alhamdulillah skills, writing, author, happiness coach, personal counselor, trainer.
When they see these gold necklaces, they say that alhamdulillah, you're very lucky, you're successful, mashallah.
Lucky person, no, not
Please go ahead.
I just say findings are reserved only for searchers. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانَ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, इंसान को सिर्फ वही दूंगा जिसकी उसने कोशिश की. तो otherwise
so whatever you manifest, right? Whatever you manifest, that's what you will get.
Whatever you sow, you're going to reap the benefits of that, right? True. Go ahead.
If you sow social, you reap. If you don't sow, how can you reap? There's no chance to reap it. So set your eye, just tell them, there are so many issues our youth is facing, not only youth, faculty and staff also facing lack of patience, lack of gratitude, और अदर देन दैट एग्रेसिवनेस, बहुत जल्दी गुस्से में आ जाते हैं बच्चे, और पेशेंस नहीं है, ये नहीं खाना. दे डोंट नो हाउ टू लव योर
I think they just need to find some calmness in their life, and I think nowadays this is very I would say a luxury, a treasure that is chased, but you can't find it nowadays because our life is so fast paced, and that with the digital technology and social media, there's so much social comparison going on, and that is creating a lot of havoc. And now let's talk about the mental health, right?
Hajar, very quickly, I'm very sorry, before we move on towards mental health, there was one small thing which I wanted to discuss, and it is very common over here in our society. So, when you were talking about that, okay, a 22-year-old university child, not even child, a grown-up actually comes to you and be like, Madam, mujhe to pata hi nahi hai, what do I have to do, what am I supposed to do in my life? The sole purpose is that, that the way that we have been groomed by our parents, because every now and then the only remark I would get on my grades was, you won't be able to succeed, number one. Number two, the only thing which I would hear of my, obviously that's not what they meant, which is why, alhamdulillah, wherever I am, alhamdulillah, it's because of Allah and then their prayers, alhamdulillah. But what happens is that they kept on telling me ever since, beta ko bada kaam karo, beta ko bada kaam karo, not knowing wo bada kaam kya hai, so, do something big in life, but they keep on telling you, but they certainly do not know themselves what is that bada kaam. So how do you think that people really need to identify, their strengths to make sure that they build up on that?
Very good question. And
thank you so much. I'm known for that. We are.
Alhamdulillah. Allama Muhammad Iqbal said that अपने मन में डूब कर पाजा सुराग़े ज़िंदगी. तू अगर मेरा नहीं बनता ना बन, अपना तो बन. We are not sincere with ourselves. We don't want to be a valuable person. We don't respect others. We don't even we don't love others. Just a fake love.
मैं तो करता हूँ, दूसरे नहीं मुझे कर रहे हैं.
We do.
मैं तो ज़्यादा ही कर लेता हूँ.
ज़्यादा ही कर लेते हैं अभी भी. हम इसको फिर assess करेंगे कि कितना करते हैं.
So how do you think that they need to identify their strengths so that they build upon it and it becomes bigger?
Parents should be aware about that. Parents को अपनी जिम्मेदारी, they should pay their, they are just growing their children, that ये बड़े हो रहे हैं.
Yeah, and there's one thing which I wanted to add over here, because just yesterday I was in conversation with my 10-year-old daughter, alhamdulillah. And she was sitting beside me, and I was like, okay, so we were having some debate. We were talking about something, and she was like, I need your phone, why don't you give it to me? Because I did give it to her, but then I took it back. I was like, it's too early for her. So, and then I was like, beta, you know what, you really need to focus on your work. And she was like, I do not want to go to school and all of that. So I was like, how do you think that you're going to work? And she was like, but mama doesn't work. So I was like, what makes you think that you're not going to work? I was like, hey, you know what? The first thing you really need to know is that you have to work. So imagine, I think that's where we really need that shift, because imagine that my daughter already had this idea that since mama doesn't work, I'm not going to work too, so please make sure that you change this mindset, because everybody needs to contribute towards the progress of the country and for their own development.
Thank you so much for very brilliantly pointing it out, because obviously kids imitate their parents a lot, and I think empty words are not very effective with your kids, because they're watching you and they are knowingly, unconsciously and consciously imitating whatever you do. But now let's talk about the mental health aspect of that, because I think it's a very important aspect, and sort of pressures, and I think there are lots of pressures that we should not be taking in the first place, like the peer pressure and the social comparison and whatnot is happening. So, and that is creating a lot of havoc, anxiety, depression, and obviously they are antithesis to happiness in the first place, right? So, as someone who is often assessing the students, college students out there, university students out there, what do you recommend to them if someone is going through depression or maybe anxiety, or if he wants to have the happiness? Because nowadays you would find that there are lots of happiness pills that have come across, right? And there are lots of criticism which is leveled on them, right? There is no shortcut to achieving happiness in the first place. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
I was just because there are a lot of एक शेर में I say something कि बार-बार होती है, बार-बार करते हैं लोग, अब मोहब्बत का कारोबार करते हैं. Just because of that, there are so many students and people who are playing with others, who are just using them. Then they come to me with relationship, with breakup and anxiety and negative thoughts. That's why I make them sure that there is no real love. Just trust your parents. They will select your spouse and whatever, and take your time. If you are here to only seeking knowledge and taking academia education, then focus over it. They are going to ruin with fake love. Their education, their health, their mental health, they are not satisfied. Our youth is going to distract. So we have to focus them towards. And one thing more, that if I am saying that there is UMT has a happiness coach, so I am going to request from there, from your platform to others institution, please have a happiness coach and counselor. No, they should have some.
I think what you need to do is that you need to become a mentor as a happiness coach and prepare more
because clinical departments and psychiatrist and psychology department has they are in every university.
Exactly.
And
so we really need to kind of focus on making sure.
On the other hand, one should be there who can think about yourself like his own children.
प्यार से ही होगा ना,
प्यार से होगा, क्योंकि ये प्यार का मामला है, प्यार से.
We need somebody who loves us. But you know, where you mentioned,
I think validation is very important.
Exactly. But where you mentioned that, okay, the children really need to focus, rather than, being in relationships, chasing each other, being in love. And it's a very natural feeling, so nobody can kind of overcome that as well. If you like somebody, you like somebody. And I'm an advocate of love. I think what we need to do is that we need to come back to revert to Islamic model of marriages, where early marriages were actually promoted, so imagine over here people are looking for jobs first, then they want to have their own house, then they want to have a great salary, and then that's the time where what our religion tells us is that you get married, Allah will help you.
That's very true, and I think this is the high time that we revert back again, like Shehzad mentioned, to the prophetic model, prophetic era, because there are lots of progressive traditions that we can find there, and just because we really don't endeavor that much, that doesn't mean that those sort of traditions doesn't exist. So with that, we will say thank you so much.
May I show my book?
Sure. Why not? So सबसे पहले, let's take a good look at कहीं देर ना हो जाए.
कहीं देर ना हो जाए. It is my first book and has 17 articles, 17 different aspects of life.
And in addition to that, so for everybody who's in love, please make sure that you express, because kahin dev na ho jaye. The next one is?
And next one is, I have written this book within 3 years, Subh Zarur Hogi, and it has 14 articles, and this is the latest book which was inaugurated by my UMT and in 2017, and now I am working on an English book because there are so many people who want to think about this.
So thank you so much, madam, for sharing this with our audiences as well, because no matter what happens, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this hope.
May I say ek share?
So sure. I'm going to come over there, but you know, there always needs to be this hope, there always needs to be this energy that inshallah subh zarur hogi.
Inshallah. Thank you so very much. You are going to elaborate my books in a very good, nice way.
We'll be really short on time, so if you can very quickly say
I have 53 articles, 53 aspects of life I have discussed without promoting anything. We can change our lives by reading this. We can survive in this kind of society easily without any hassle and without facing. And after all, worry less, smile more, don't regret, just learn and grow. आखिर में एक शेर के ख्वाहिश से नहीं गिरते फल झोली में, वक्त की शाख को मेरे दोस्त हिलाना होगा, कुछ नहीं होगा अंधेरों को बुरा कहने से, अपने हिस्से का दिया खुद ही जलाना होगा.
क्या बात है, हमें किसी की ऊंचाई से क्या लेना, हमें किसी की ऊंचाई से क्या लेना, अपनी गहराई में मुकम्मल है हम. जुमा मुबारक. Until next time, look after yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Stay happy. Good morning.
Thank you.